you ever found yourself dreading Mondays because your team just is not clicking? And you wondered if there is a real way to hire people who actually make things easier, not harder. The pain of hiring the wrong fit can stall your growth, drain your energy, and even leave you questioning your leadership. Finding aligned, high-performing employees can feel impossible. Setting clear expectations, building company culture, and balancing automations with the human touch points all pile up onto making hiring feeling so overwhelming. That's why today's guest is here to shake things up and how we think about hiring and team building. So with that, get ready to make your next hire your best yet. And with that, I want to introduce you to today's guest who actually has multiple businesses that do over 50 million in annual revenue. But get this, and that pretty much is going to answer your question why I invited her to the podcast. She only spends about 10 hours a week overseeing the operations of those businesses. Yeah. When you can run multiple businesses in the multi-million dollar level on just 10 hours, you know I had to have Danielle on the podcast. So with that, welcome Danielle Mulvey. I hope I didn't butcher this. Between my German accent and my English accent, names sometimes come out weird and I get tongue twisters. Danielle, I am so excited to have you here with your vast of knowledge, having looked you up online and having looked up the businesses. I am so excited to have you. Thank you for joining me today.
Likewise, I'm excited to be with you as well. You are quite the Wonder Woman yourself.
Thanks so much. Now, I'm curious. Diving a little bit into your personal journey, when we're looking at where you are today, multiple business, multi-million dollar, you hang out with a couple of people where I'm like, oh yeah, we are not just talking Joe Schmo off the street. We are talking people that have done similar work. So looking at your success today, what was like the moment when you realized and that something needed to change how you think about people and how you think about hiring, and that led you to being where you are and hiring 5-star people and not just get frustrated? Because I can't be the only one that's like, oh my God, this is not working out again. Why the hell do I need to micromanage people? What was the turning point?
So I started my first business. It was an advertising and marketing agency at the ripe old age of 25. So I've been an entrepreneur for more than half my life now. And I was about 2 years into that first business and had 7 employees at the time. And I remember waking up one Monday morning and contemplating calling in fake sick to my own company, because I didn't want to face another week with Larry, the graphic designer I personally hired. And I see you raise your hand, like you felt like that too some Monday mornings, like, can I call in fake sick to my own company? So that was the line in the sand day when I realized that I had no idea what I was doing when it came to hiring people. I was winging it. I was using anecdotal. Larry, was a referral. He was the sibling of someone I went to college with. He had graduated from the same college with the same degree as one of my best graphic designers. So he was kind of like checking the proverbial boxes, but I basically, that was enough for me. I was like, okay, great. Can you start Monday? Oh, and you have a pulse? Perfect. So that was really kind of like what I based my hiring decision off of. And that just doesn't work. And so I resolved myself that morning that, of course I didn't call in fake sick, but I resolved myself to take 3 immediate actions that day. Number one, I moved Larry to alumni status ASAP. He was gone by that afternoon. I decided that I was going to stop winging it when it came to my hiring, and I was going to really dig in and understand and master hiring people, because I realized too, like, I wasn't going to be, I could only do so much. And you can only grow and scale your business when you have employees who can do the work better than you. And then I also decided that I was never going to settle for someone who would be less than what I call today a 5-star fit employee. So that was my big wake up call. And so over these last, 25 plus years, I have just really focused on that. And built successful teams that have allowed me to then open up new businesses and get those teams up and running and get them going, and then start the next business and such. So I care deeply about my employees. I am, there's some weeks where I've got to come in and I do special projects, but on an average it just takes 10 hours a week to oversee them. But if we've got a big initiative or things like that, of course I'm spending more time. And then the balance of my time is guesting on podcasts, keynoting, and consulting with other entrepreneurs.
And that's where I talk about seasons, right? We build to have the fun seasons, and there's going to be some seasons where we put in a little bit more work, or where I allow myself to just nerd out. It's like Fridays is I'm allowed to go shiny object syndrome and just go down rabbit holes. That's the joy of having systems in place and having amazing teams. Now, you mentioned in our submission form that you believe everyone is a 5-star fit for at least one role. Now, we also just heard Larry. Larry was definitely not the 5-star fit for that role. And my personal belief is also for a role in a specific team. So yes, I do believe everybody has their place somewhere. Larry apparently didn't have it in that position with you. However, I've been through similar lessons, right? How can my audience and everybody listening get past the initial pain that I have experienced too? And how do they figure out who is that 5-star role for them and the position they want to fill?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a 5-star employee scorecard for that. So you should measure an employee being a 5-star fit if they can fill out the 5 stars of the 5-star employee scorecard. And the first star is alignment with core values. So if you want people in your organization who think and act like you, so basically cloning yourself, then you need to have people who share the same core values, because that's what drives your decision making. And when I say core values, it is the 3 to 5 100% true all of the time core values. A lot of organizations say, oh, we have core values, but it's been a group think exercise and they're mostly aspirational and such. And those have a place in the organization, but that isn't going to necessarily be what drives the natural thinking and decision making. So I start with people that, that's where you need to start. And then when you have those core values with clarifying statements, you just want to say, oh, we value ownership. Like, what does ownership mean if that's the case? And with those 3 to 5 core values and clarifying statements, you're going to put them in a job post, in your job posting, because that is going to attract that person, that high achiever who thinks like you and who is aligned with those core values. And it's going to repel the people who are like, no, I don't think this is jiving with me. So hand in hand, as we're going through this 5-star employee scorecard and rating system, there's things that you're going to take from this and you're going to want to put in your job postings so that you're attracting those ideal candidates that will and be that potential 5-star fit for you. So after that star, the second star is the 3 to 5 key responsibilities and success metrics. So you want to really understand what you need done in your organization. You're the boss. You're hiring someone to fill some sort of void in your organization. And who best to know what voids need to be filled but you? Because you're the boss, you're the owner. And so oftentimes I see business owners hire people that have the experience and just go, here, go, but they don't give them very much direction or understanding. And so when you look at someone's schedule for a week of this new hire that you're going to make, like really kind of map out, like, what are you expecting them to be doing kind of hour by hour? What does their ideal week look like? And when you get that ideal week mapped out, you're going to see that 70% of their week is doing 3 to 5 key responsibilities. So what are those? And that's where you want to be very specific about those in your job posting. Too many job postings are a mishmash of other people's job postings, and they're vanilla, they're blah, 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 blah. And they don't really tell you exactly what you need to be doing. And they don't tell you what success is. They don't say where the bar is set. So that's why with each key responsibility, you need to quantify with a number, a dollar value, a percentage, a time frame, what success is and the metric for each of those key responsibilities. So, for example, I hire in one of my companies, we process long-term care claims, and I hire claims examiners who adjudicate facility-based and home health claims. And the measures of success are 42 claims processed per day on average, 98% procedural accuracy, and 98% financial accuracy.
Specific
when you
numbers.
are
I
very
love
clear,
some specificity.
well, and you talked about not wanting to micromanage people. When you are that specific and you quantify the success metrics, the employee knows if they're hitting it or not. They know if they're successful or not. And a high achiever is going to want to hit it and want to exceed it. My claims examiners, even though the minimum average is 42 claims per day over the course of a month, my team averages 49 claims. So like, the bar is set, and then the high achievers are going to be like, I got it. And then I can set more. So, and it doesn't take weeks to transform your hiring. It takes a couple of hours to transform your hiring, and to just start thinking about it a little bit, stop being lazy about it, and get specific about it. And so, it takes 25 minutes to do the core values exercise. It would take, 30 minutes to map out what someone's ideal week looks like in a schedule, and then figure out their key responsibilities, and then figure out how to quantify the success. Like it's just actually doing it instead of half-assing it, if it's okay.
And I think it's part also ownership or understanding too. We here at Ask Evie, it's been a lot about our values, and the values of my company, specifically because what the company is and how it is, are closely connected to my own personal value that do have evolved as I have evolved. And yes, we have public values too. What do we stand for? What do we go after? Who do we want to draw in as a company? But internally for us, we have those values. We have those values on a personal level. And if you look at my team, they are similar to my own personal values and what I care about. And with that actually triggered a really good question in my mind, where it's like, I love the value approach. I love the specificity. I love having clear expectation and clear boundaries, because I believe it makes life so much easier. Now, when I take all of this and with the values and wanting to build, for me, values is straight connecting to company culture, right? You are drawing in a certain type of people, certain personalities, how they show up. With that comes a certain team culture and company culture. Now, devil's advocate here, you're managing multiple companies in just 10 hours a week. How do you keep that company culture going? How do you make sure it works and it stays what you want it to be?
So we'll take a little, we'll go off the 5-star employee scorecard just for a little bit on this detour. So the way that I do it is by daily huddles with each of the teams. So the daily huddle, depending upon the team, is averages about 10 to 15 minutes. I have one team, my remote team. It's a little bit, it's a longer daily huddle, but that's because we're all remote, and so we get a lot of the connecting that we need to get done and the collaboration that you normally would get throughout the day. But that's my 10 hours a week, is really spending an hour ish plus per day going through and getting that daily connection with the team, because I'm able to, so the basic structure of a daily huddle goes like this. We start with a celebration. So I'm always prepared in my back pocket to start the call or the Zoom or the in-person with a celebration. And what that does is that elevates everyone's state. And it reminds everyone why we're here. So in one of my companies, we actually start with a client testimonial every day. So someone else on the team is responsible for bringing the client testimonial, and it's either in written form or it's a video clip or something. And so that kind of gets the team fired up and reminds us all why we're there. Then what happens is people go around and they share, here are the 3 things I did yesterday, and here are the 3 things I'm going to do today. And then it just moves on like that quickly. And so what I'm able to do is keep a pulse on what's going on. And if someone there's something on their plate today that they say they're going to do, and it's important but not urgent, hey, can you do this instead? And we can push that to tomorrow or next week. That's how I keep us going forward. And that's how simple it is, because they're doing their key responsibilities and they're hitting their success metrics. So I'm not micromanaging. I'm more conducting, and I'm not playing an instrument, right? The conductor doesn't play an instrument, but I'm just okay, it's time for you guys to come in. All right, it's time for you. That's how simple it is, in terms of keeping that culture going. When someone does something great, and we want to give a shout out to someone or compliment them, we tie it back to the core values. Hey, Heenal, thank you for taking ownership of that. I really appreciate how you picked up the ball with that client and ran with it and got a touchdown out of it. That ownership was perfect. You also will use your core values to provide constructive feedback too. Okay, Peter, I think something just kind of got lines crossed, etc., between you and the client and the vendor. Going forward, can you just kind of assume the ownership amongst when we've got a situation that involves our client and a vendor too? So that's how you keep that company culture going, is by the daily huddle and then using those core values on a daily basis.
For you, as the leader you are and the female CEO running multiple companies, have you noticed any unique challenges or advantages being a woman in that situation, being a woman that is building and leading high performance teams? What
Yeah.
What can women in my audience potentially expect, advantages, but also potential disadvantages to run into as a woman in that position?
Yeah, I think that I think I think to me, I have a great advantage. I've seen how guys, like other male business owners run a daily huddle, and I think that I think they run it with male energy, and I run it with female energy, and maybe a little bit more mothering to a certain degree. Like, I care so deeply about my employees. Like, I mean, before I got married and before I had children, like, I loved my employees like children. I still love them like children and such. So, I think that because I care so deeply, I think that that's kind of the difference that uh, women tend to bring to their teams, that they can work as with an advantage. In terms of a disadvantage, I would say that sometimes you could have people, and maybe they're male employees, who don't want to share what they're doing, and they don't want to be seemed accountable in a group setting. Well, right there is a red flag, because that's someone who is not aligned with with the core values of my organization. So they're not a 5-star fit for my organization. They can go, like, there's a 5-star fit for them, multiple 5-star fits for them in other industries and other jobs, or in a similar role, but just in a different organization. So so getting back to the 5-star employee scorecard, you've got the core values, you've got the key responsibilities and success metrics, and then the third star are the 11 universal qualities of a 5-star employee. So we've identified 11 universal qualities that are present in all 5-star employees. And it's basically, you're going to create interview questions around these 11 universal qualities, so you can really understand, is this person, giving us what we want in terms of being limber? Or are they not as limber as we need them to be? And for different roles, you might need someone to be more limber in this role in your organization, and then in this other role you need someone to be less limber. And so it's an opportunity for you, again, to be like, what do I need, what do I want? When you get specific about what you want, it's it becomes a magnet. And because your frustration with employees is when they're not meeting the standards, not meeting what you want. But have you really ever
Have you
taken the
actually
time,
set the standard or communicated your standards?
or interviewed the candidate around specifically what you're looking for, what you're not looking for? I say success leaves clues, but failures leave lessons. So just go back and think about people who are mishires. Like, where was the miss? What was the red flag that you ignored? There was something in your gut that was like, oh, I don't think this is right, but you're like, well, maybe they'll be okay. But what happened is,
Let's just not listen to my intuition. Why would I do that?
let's give them 90 days.
Ah.
Why
Why?
90 days? Unless
Why?
you live in Montana. Unless you live in Montana, there is no other state that requires a 90-day probationary period. If you hire someone right, they should hit the ground at 50 miles an hour week 1. They should be ramped up and going 100 miles an hour by week 4, 5, 6. You don't need to give someone 90 days, guys. That's because you're giving someone 90 days because you're half-assing it when it comes to hiring.
I feel it. I feel that one. I feel that one. That is a perfect call out right there. Now, I'm curious. I love your approach to people. I love your approach to clarity, communication, the values. Oh my God, yes. Now, where is there / where is there room for systems and automations and processes,
Yeah.
because we have a lot of humans, right? And
Right.
we don't want to lose that human factor. But me personally, I'm all automation. Yes, I have overdone automation in the past. Don't get me wrong. I learned
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
lesson too. Where in your hiring process, in with your 5-star teams, where is there room, and how do you integrate systems and processes and automations
Yeah.
and that side of things?
Exactly. So let me just knock out the last two stars in the 5-star employee scorecard. So after the 11 universal qualities of a 5-star employee, then you test for the aptitudes and skills for the role. So what do you need? What are the skills? And then you have to test for them. But every role is going to have different aptitudes and skills that you need. And then the final one is you want to do a check on compensation. So their compensation, what you pay them should produce a 3.5x return on their payroll, so they should have that much of a positive impact on revenue. So that's the 5-star employee scorecard. Boom, we're done. Now when it comes to automation, we're going to move to the 5-star fit method. And so the 5-star fit method is the hiring gauntlet that you put people through. And what happens is we do, when someone applies, they are automatically sent the all-in assessment. And the all-in assessment is a psychometric, scientifically based assessment, and it tells you a candidate's abilities, motivations, personality, work fit, and team fit. And what you do with that assessment that they complete is then it is bumped up against the benchmark you set for the role. So for every role, ideally you'd have, like, I have my best claims examiners, and um and I take their assessment results, and then I create their assessment results become the new benchmark. So when someone takes the assessment, I'm scoring against already my best people. So that's how I'm cloning my best people in a scientific, automated way. And if you score 70% or higher, you move forward in our process. But get this, the that first step in the 5-star fit method, this hiring gauntlet, this funnel to get to your best candidates, eliminates 80% of the applicants like that. So now I'm down to the top 15 to 20% of applicants. And I haven't looked at a resume yet. I have not spent any time. I'm just looking for the scores. Boom.
And
Okay.
that's like,
So
I love me some frameworks, right? Because it brings things around to data, to what worked, what didn't work. It's like some really weird correlation just popped in my head. It's like a nurse asking you your perception of your pain, anywhere from 1 to 10, right? You are doing a similar scoring,
exactly.
and comparing it to be able to put a person that is so many different facets. Let's be honest, I'm running at least 10 different personalities in just an hour into something that
Yeah.
is feasible, something where you have so much better chances that that person and their personality and their perception of the world and their model of the world fits what you need, fits the company culture, fits the communication style and the drive and all you do. It's like, it's the perfect, nicely packaged, all-encompassing framework to have the best chances to get the right person in.
Yeah, you're exactly right, because personality is not enough. Like, we have 5 perspectives that we're looking at. And so it's like it all has to point to, like, here we are. And a lot of people use personality tests, but even if you go to the DISC website, right on the homepage of DISC, it says this is a personality test. This is not to be used in hiring. You can use it after you hire someone so that you can, get to know them faster and this, that, the other. But even DISC says do not use this to make a hiring decision, because personality does not dictate whether they'll be successful in particular positions or not. So that's why you want to have multiple perspectives, and they're objective. There's nothing subjective here. It's the numbers and the data that are doing the scoring.
I love that. Now that we have a really great understanding of how this all works and what you do, now I know that your plan is to unseat Indeed as the #1 hiring hub. And I'm excited about that because honestly, hiring out there is like, yeah, oh yeah, I like that. Just hire them. They're good people. So I love this bold vision. I'm like, yes. With that, what do you see missing in that current hiring landscape, and maybe even specifically for female entrepreneurs and female-led businesses? What's missing? What is that piece that you fulfill that, may I say, male-led hiring companies might have missed? Oh, I'm sassy today.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So, I think, so what's interesting is it kind of goes both ways, because we're about 50-50 in terms of our clients who use our system for hiring, the 5-star employee hiring system. And what's interesting is in a couple of those female-led companies, they only had female teams. And
which now means we are in a similar situation as just having male teams. Am I assuming that right? Because I love my females. Don't get me wrong. I love us, but we are losing out by just having female teams.
So I'm going to call out Casey, and she has publicly talked about this in a podcast. So
it's not a call out. She already talked about it.
Exactly. But it's easier for me to put a name to it. But so Casey is one example. A wildly successful bookkeeping and business consulting firm, and female led, female driven, female powered, this, that, the other, and basically she couldn't fathom hiring a male. But when she put the system into place, and the high scoring candidates included males, she's just like, I don't think this is going to work. And it was like, trust the process, Casey. Just trust the process. Let's just try to trust the process. And she's process driven in her organization. She's actually Profit First certified. So she understands trusting the process. So she did trust the process. So let's fast forward now to 2 years later. Her best employee is the male employee that she thought she never would have hired. And every time she talks about Drew, she just is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I was thinking that a male wouldn't work in my company, wouldn't work out well. And here he is, the poster child of the company. So that is one big thing, is like, trust a process, trust a system, and remove subjectivity.
And I think I've talked about that regularly. I think what happens, especially, I'm like, yes, I'm a female leader podcast, right? I'm focusing on female leaders. And I look back at the fight other women had for us to be able for us to be here today. But human nature is like a pendulum, right? We are all on one side, and somebody is like, no, this is not fair. And it tends to happen to go all the way to the other side, and then starts finally pendling out in the middle. And I think we are getting to a point as women in business, as female leaders, as big voices, to get into the stage, into the middle, at least to some level. Let's look at it just worldwide right now, where where it's getting to a happy medium where we are coming back from, okay, all men are bad, to no, it's actually, it's people. And it comes down again to the personality, to the knowledge. And there is things where I'm like, no, I'm not gonna hire a woman for this job. Yes, maybe, but there is specific things where I'm like, I'm sorry, I love my women, but I don't think this position is perfectly suited for a woman. And we are just losing out on that.
Exactly. So in the 5-star fit method, you have the assessment on the front end that gets you down to the top 15 to 20% of the candidates. Then the next step is you're going to do a screening interview. It's going to be like 15 minutes, just kind of, ask some questions about the resume. Again, at that point now, you're only about 50% of those candidates move forward. So if you start with 100 applicants, then you're down to, let's just say easy math, the assessment gets you down to 20 applicants, top 20%. Then you go through the screening interview. Now you're down to 10. You spend 15 minutes on a screening interview or less. I've had screening interviews that have been less than a minute, and that's fine. We're just moving on. You're only hiring one person. Like you don't owe
It's like,
people
if
anything.
it's like dating. If it doesn't feel right within the first 2 minutes, it's not gonna feel right in an hour if you're trying to force it.
Exactly. Or 90 days for a new hire,
No,
right?
no.
So after the screening interview, then you're going to want to give skills testing. So it doesn't matter what someone says they can do or what their resume says they can do. It matters, can they actually do it? So you want, no matter the position, you want to incorporate some sort of skills testing. Make sure they can't AI it. And so then if they pass the skills testing, they move forward. So usually about 60% move forward from the skills testing, 60 to 70%. So again, it's like another objective, automated way to filter more people out. And then after the skills testing, you're going to do a deep dive interview. The deep dive interview is about an hour and a half, and it's you with someone else on your team. So there's some accountability. Did we both hear the same things? Are we both on the same page? Do we both have these same like weird gut feelings that we need to follow? And then after if they pass the deep dive interview, now you're down to like usually the top 4 candidates, and then you'll invite them to a test drive day. So the test drive day is better than a 90-day probationary period because it is them coming in, whether it's a remote position, and they're logging on for 4 to 5 hours, or they're coming into your office for 4 to 5 hours. But it's a paid test drive day where they're kind of getting to see what a day in the life of doing the role looks like. And you're actually going to give them some assignments. You're going to show them how to do things and see how quickly they can pick it up, because your ideal 5-star fit that you hire is going to hit the ground running, right? When they start, they're going to be at 50 miles an hour week 1. And so this is your opportunity to do that. And you're going to pay them like, depending upon what you're paying them, kind of like what would be commensurative to their current salary. So that is the 5-star fit method, and that is how you apply some big objectivity and automation, and balancing it with having the conversations, getting to know them and such. But you're not wasting your time, and you're not overwhelmed at any stage, because the system and the assessment and the skills testing are filtering out the big chunks of candidates.
Now, I know for everybody that's like, oh my God, I'm ready to hire. I'm ready to hire right. And not just anybody. I know you have something for my audience to make their hiring easier. Tell my audience about it and where they can find it.
So we talked a bit about the 11 universal qualities of a 5-star employee. And if you start there, that will start to make you realize. So it's a quick little exercise that you can do. It'll take you less than 5 minutes to do it. And it will give you a big aha that you can apply immediately going forward in your next interview, in your next hiring phase. So if you text the word team, TEAM, to 55444, that's team to 55444, then you will get this the 11 universal qualities of a 5-star employee litmus test that will let you start hitting the ground running.
Thank you so much for making that available to my audience, and thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Guys, you got this. Team to 55444. Really simple. So go get that. Danielle, thanks so much for joining me today, and I can't wait to see my audience implement all of that and finally hire good teams. I'm lucky I finally got to a point of hiring a good team that aligns with me, that aligns with my values and my goals. I pay dearly to get here. Guys, everybody listening, ladies, go grab it. Save yourself the years that I paid dearly. Thanks so much for making it easy for us, Danielle. Bye, everybody.